The Glass Horizon Chronicles. Part 5. The Last Listener. The silent corridor had left humanity shaken, its shadows etched into memory, its silence echoing across every heart. Elara Vey, the custodian, knew her time was ending. The hum of fractures had grown unbearable, resonating inside her bones until sleep became impossible. She was no longer just listening, she was dissolving into the resonance itself. The beings of light appeared one final time, their prisms flickering with sorrow. They told her the truth she had feared: custodianship was not eternal. The resonance demanded a successor. The search for the last listener began quietly. Among the listeners, scattered across continents and stations, one voice rose above the rest: a young engineer named Kael, who had once sabotaged an exploiter lab and saved thousands. He was ordinary, unremarkable in appearance, but when he stepped into the silent corridor, the shadows bent toward him. He heard the hum as Elara did, not as noise but as language. The beings of light turned their prisms toward him, and Elara knew the mantle had passed. But the fractures were no longer wounds alone. They had become predators. Rogue factions, desperate and cornered, had forced corridors open, bleeding timelines together until reality itself began to twist. Cities flickered between existence and erasure, oceans rose and fell in minutes, and people found themselves living memories that were not theirs. The world was unraveling, and Kael was thrust into chaos. He built upon Elara's harmonic engine, amplifying it into a vast resonance network. When activated, the hum spread across Earth, stations, and fractured timelines. For the first time, humanity heard the scream of reality itself. It was unbearable, a sound that clawed at the soul, but it forced the world to see the truth. The fractures were not opportunities, not weapons, not doors, they were death. Yet the exploiters made one final move. In a desperate act, they opened the largest fracture ever attempted, a wound stretching across the sky above the Pacific. From it emerged not shadows, not beings of light, but something else, an intelligence born of collapse, a predator of universes. It was vast, shifting like liquid geometry, its form a labyrinth of broken timelines. It spoke in resonance, a voice that shook the planet: "You scarred reality. You are mine." Panic spread, nations faltered, even the listeners trembled. Kael stood at the center of the chaos, the hum tearing at his mind. He realized the truth: the predator was not alien. It was humanity's reflection, the sum of every fracture, every exploitation, every ambition. It was the shadow of their choices, given form. To defeat it, he could not fight with weapons. He had to listen. Kael entered the silent corridor, the predator following, its labyrinth twisting around him. Shadows of humanity flickered, wars won, worlds conquered, universes collapsed. He walked deeper, hearing the resonance grow louder, until he reached the core. There, he found Elara's shadow, waiting. She whispered, "The horizon is glass. Break it, and all is lost. Listen, and it endures." With trembling hands, Kael activated the resonance network inside the corridor. The hum became a symphony, every fracture vibrating in harmony. The predator screamed, its labyrinth unraveling, its form dissolving into silence. The corridor shook, timelines bled, and for a moment reality itself seemed to collapse. Then, silence. The predator was gone, the fractures stabilized, the hum softened into a whisper. Kael emerged, changed forever. He was no longer an engineer, no longer ordinary. He was the last listener, custodian of a fragile universe. Humanity had survived, but at a cost. The fractures remained, scars that would never heal, reminders of ambition unchecked. Yet the world had listened, and in listening, it had endured. The beings of light watched, prisms shimmering with cautious hope. They had seen universes collapse before, but perhaps this time was different. Humanity was scarred, stubborn, divided, yet still listening. The horizon was glass, the corridor was silent, and the last listener walked among the stars, carrying the weight of survival. And somewhere beyond the fractures, in timelines yet unseen, shadows of humanity waited, watching, wondering if the glass would shatter again, or if, at last, it would endure.